Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask you for pardon of my sins and grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Last time we were looking at that lovely story of the lady who had gone to confession in the shrine of Our Lady of Torre Ciudad and who shared the joy of that confession with her family with a celebration, a champagne party to celebrate just literally the day before she died. So that made me also think of something not as dramatic, but for me, I suppose for my life, quite dramatic actually. Somebody who shared the joy of confession with me. I was a schoolboy, 17 years old, long time since I'd been at confession, and even longer, I think, since I'd made a really good, sincere confession. Anyway, in that school, there was a great chaplain who was very good about hearing confession. He would always, I think every day, he would spend time in the confessional box, and he would also advertise confession. He would come in, he was very humble, very cheerful priest. He would come into the classroom and he would write on the board. He would just come in, sneak in between classes, write on the board, confessions, for example, 11:30. And so we all knew where the confessional box was, we were nearby, near to the classes, and that he would be in there at 11:30. Of course, we smart alecky schoolboys would write in, put in a pound sign before the 11:30. So it now meant confessions costing £11.30. But anyway, he was always patient with us. And so people went to confession, not me, and I wasn't planning to. But my best friend, one day we were in the corridor, not very far from the confessional boxes. And we were just there, lounging around as students, pupils, schoolboys do. And suddenly the friend said, I'm going in. And I said to him, you're joking. He said, no, I'm going in. I said, well, I'll wait here. Don't forget your £11.50. He came out a few minutes later, clearly very happy with the confession. But then he said to me quite seriously, you are next. And I said, no way. And he said, you are. And he ended up actually pushing me into the confessional box, physically taking me by the shoulders and pushing me into the confessional box. He probably knew there was no other way. He was going to convince me. And so now the priest had me. He helped me to make a good confession. Not that my life changed instantly, but it put me on a good track. I'd cleaned out the stables. And it wasn't going to be such a big job next time around to get to confession. And so it was very helpful. It was very helpful for me at that stage. But thinking of this, I realized nobody else in the entire world could have got me to go to confession. Literally nobody. Only that friend of mine. We were very alike. We shared the same tastes in music and similar lifestyle, similar background, everything. We're very, very, very similar people. He was still a very good friend of mine, in fact. And seeing him go to confession did make an impact. In other words, you kind of subconsciously ask, if he can go, I could go. He wasn't like maybe other fellows I knew. I said, well, they would go to confession. But that he would go definitely kind of put it up to me that I could go, I should go if he goes. But that wasn't enough, of course, because it took him then, not just to give me a good example, but then to say, but actually did more than say it to me. He actually physically pushed me into the confessional box. But I needed those two things. His example, first of all, three things perhaps. Him being a good friend, best friend, so like me. Then giving me the example of his confession. So I saw him go into the box. I don't know what he said. I saw him coming out happy. And so that was very important for me. But then the third thing, then his desire to get me in there. So saying it, first of all, you're next. My resistance, no, I'm not. And then he didn't take no for an answer. And then getting me by the shoulders, strong guy, and pushed me into the confessional box. And I was there. So, and obviously in a way, happy to be there. Now I was in confession. I'd overcome that barrier. And I was there with a very nice priest, a very good priest, who certainly helped me along to make a good confession. And so it makes us think, wow, the way God uses friends, the way He makes use of friendship to do things and to say things and I don't know, push people in ways that nobody else could. Nobody else, I would have allowed nobody else, certainly not to push me in, but even to say it, only that friend could do it. Maybe God is asking you to be a better friend of your friends. I wouldn't recommend pushing them physically into a confessional box, but there is a phrase of St. Paul who says, in the Latin is caritas Christi urget nos. That's the charity of Christ urges us or impels us. So there is a certain, impelling our friends to do the right thing because we know it's the right thing. We know that they will be very happy and we know ultimately they will be, as I am, very grateful for that act of ultimate charity, really. I give you thanks, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask you for help to put them into effect. My Mother Immaculate, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.